The Unforgettable Disappearance of Emily Hartman, Ashland, Oregon. 1997, on a chill October evening in 1997, 22-year-old Emily Hartman vanished from the quiet outskirts of Ashland, Oregon. The autumn dusk swallowed her whole. No witnesses, no struggle, no sign. The last flicker of her presence was traced at the edge of a worn hiking path, framed by towering pines and the muted murmur of Bear Creek. No phone calls, no footprints, no trace. Before we dive in, if you enjoy chilling true stories and unsettling mysteries, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you know when new videos are available. Emily Hartman was not just another face in a small town. She recently graduated from Southern Oregon University, where she studied environmental science with a quiet but fierce determination. Friends described her as thoughtful, introspective, and fiercely independent. She often escaped the bustle of the campus to explore the dense woods surrounding Ashland. Emily was known for her meticulous nature. She kept detailed journals of her hikes and observations of local flora and fauna, revealing a young woman deeply connected to the land she cherished. The week following her disappearance, Emily's behavior was subtle but notable to those who knew her best. She'd become more withdrawn, spending late nights writing in her cabin on the edge of town. Several classmates recalled a brief, tense, and abruptly ended phone conversation she had. She declined invitations to social gatherings, instead choosing solitary walks into the foothills that stretch east of Ashland, where the landscape folds into rugged forest and shadowed creek beds. On the evening of October 14th, Emily set out for what was described in her journal as a short hike to Bear Creek. Witnesses in the small town saw her at the local grocery store earlier that afternoon, buying trail mix, a water bottle, and a notebook. She told the clerk she planned to return before dark, a promise she never kept. Just as twilight descended, the last confirmed sighting placed her on the Bear Creek Trail, a narrow, winding path bordered by dense fir and cedar trees. The area blends tranquil wilderness and quiet suburban life. Homes nestle along the periphery of Ashland's northern edge, where the city's soft glow fades into natural darkness. The trail winds through an old-growth forest, a place popular with locals for its peaceful solitude, but known to be challenging in poor weather or fading light. Emily frequented this place often, yet on that night, something inexplicably halted her journey. By the time her family grew concerned, when she failed to return home well past the promised hour, the search was already underway. Neighbors and friends combed the trail in the thickening fog, their flashlights sweeping the underbrush, calling her name into the night. Law enforcement, led by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, arrived the following morning, initiating what will become an exhaustive and heartbreaking investigation. Case file JCSO 97-1014 recorded the first official report. Emily Hartman, missing. Despite days of searching, the only clue found was a single worn hiking boot belonging to Emily, lying abandoned at a sharp bend along the trail near a small wooden bridge crossing Bear Creek. There were no signs of a struggle, blood, or discarded belongings. The boot was intact but muddy, suggesting she had stopped suddenly. But why, and where she went after, remained a mystery. Investigators explored every avenue: local sightings, possible hitchhikers, anyone who might have seen or heard anything unusual in the days before or after her disappearance. Volunteers in K-9 Uni repeatedly searched the surrounding forest, but no trace of Emily or any other evidence was found. Surveillance cameras were not yet standard in 1997, and the rural nature of Ashland's outskirts left little to no digital footprint to follow. Emily's personal effects at home showed no signs of planning for a long absence. Her journal stopped abruptly on October 13th, and a hastily packed backpack remained untouched. The only oddity was a torn photograph in her room, an image of Emily standing with an unidentified man, face obscured by shadow. Despite efforts, the photo had been ripped from a larger picture, but the man was never identified. The case became a somber fixture in Ashland's collective memory. Emily Hartman's disappearance echoed quietly through the years, a reminder of a life abruptly interrupted, with no answers, no closure. The question remains, what happened to Emily Hartman on that foggy October night? As the Bear Creek Trail faded into darkness, the unforgettable disappearance of Emily Hartman. Ashland, Oregon, 1997. Part 2, The Day of Disappearance, a timeline of shadows and silence. On October 14, 1997, the day Emily Hartman vanished, the town of Asililand awoke to a crisp autumn morning. The sky was a pale gray, hinting at rain later in the afternoon. The events of that day unfolded quietly, almost indistinguishably from any other ordinary Tuesday, until the sun slipped behind the foothills and Emily did not return. Below is a systematic reconstruction of that day based on witness accounts, law enforcement reports, and the painstaking investigative timeline constructed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Morning, October 14, 1997. 7:30 a.m., Emily's cabin. Emily's landlord, Martha Greer, saw her leaving her small cabin on the north side of Ashland. Martha described Emily as focused, calm, wearing a light jacket and hiking boots. Emily carried a small backpack and a notebook. Martha noted Emily's unusual quietness. She didn't mention much, just that she was going for a walk near Bear Creek. Nothing more. 8 a.m., local grocery store, downtown Ashland. Emily was recorded by a cashier at Green's Market purchasing trail mix, a 1-liter bottle of spring water, and a small spiral notebook. The cashier, Tom Phillips, recalled Emily saying she planned to return before sunset and seemed in a good mood. This was the last confirmed time a member saw Emily outside the trail area in public. Midday, October 14, 1997, 12:15 p.m. Phone call at Southern Oregon University. Campus security logs show a brief phone call from Emily to an unknown contact. The call lasted under 2 minutes and ended abruptly. Campus police reviewed the call records but were unable to identify the recipient. Emily's mother later said Emily seemed tense after the call when they spoke later in the day. 12:45 p.m., last confirmed contact with family. Emily called her mother from a payphone near the university campus. She said, "I'm just heading out for a short hike. I'll call when I get back." The tone was steady but distant, which alarmed her mother slightly. This was the last known verbal contact with Emily. Afternoon, October 14, 1997, 1:30 p.m., entering Bear Creek Trail. Local hikers reported seeing a young woman matching Emily's description entering the Bear Creek trailhead. They remembered her because she was alone, carrying a small backpack, and pausing often to write notes in her notebook. They described her as focused and purposeful, not distracted. 2 p.m., odd sighting. The unidentified man. Approximately 200 yards into the trail, a jogger named Mark Henderson reported briefly seeing a man standing near the trail's edge. Henderson said the man looked out of place, nervous, and kept glancing around. He wore a dark hoodie and jeans. Henderson passed without interaction. At the time, Henderson did not see Emily nearby, but in later interviews, he acknowledged the possibility she was close. This sighting would become one of the first leads, but it never yielded an identification. Late afternoon, October 14, 1997, 4:15 p.m., last confirmed sighting of Emily. A cyclist, Sarah Kim, reported seeing Emily sitting on a fallen log near Bear Creek, writing in her notebook. Sarah stopped to say hello. Emily nodded but did not engage in conversation. Sarah recalled Emily's face as pale, almost flushed, and her hands trembling slightly. Sarah's police statement noted, she looked unsettled, like something was wrong. 4:45 p.m., unidentified vehicle seen. A nearby resident, James Keller, reported seeing an unfamiliar older model sedan parked briefly near the trailhead parking lot. He described the vehicle as dark blue with no visible plates. Keller assumed it belonged to a hike, but found it odd because the car left abruptly just minutes after he noticed it. Police were unable to trace the vehicle despite running plates in the area. Evening, October 14, 1997, 6 p.m., darkness begins to fall. Per her last conversation with her mother, Emily was expected to return by 6 p.m. However, her mother noted her absence by 6:30 p.m. and attempted to call her home phone and cell, which Emily didn't carry regularly, with no answer. 7 p.m., concern turns to alarm. Emily's mother, Nancy Hartman, called her closest friends and neighbors. When no one had seen Emily, Nancy reported her missing to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office at 7:15 p.m., officially filing a missing person report, case file JCSO 97-1014. Initial search and police response. The Sheriff's Office immediately dispatched deputies and coordinated a search with local volunteers. They concentrated on the Bear Creek Trail and nearby wooded areas, using flashlights, K-9 units, and ATVs to cover rugged terrain. Despite intensive searching through the night, no sign of Emily was found. The only physical evidence recovered was a single hiking boot, Emily's right boot, found near a sharp curve in the trail, approximately 3/4 of a mile from the trailhead, close to the small wooden bridge over Bear Creek. The boot was muddy but intact, with no sign of blood or damage. Physical evidence and its significance. The hiking boot. The boot's position suggested a sudden halt. Investigators considered several theories: injury, meeting someone, or possibly being forced to stop. The boot was dusted for prints, but yielded no usable fingerprints or DNA, besides Emily's. Backpack and personal items. Emily's backpack was untouched at her cabin, with all items intact. No maps, identification, or valuables were missing. The torn photograph. Found during a search of Emily's room. The torn photo featured Emily with an unidentified man, his face obscured by shadow. Police believed this individual might be linked to the disappearance, but were unable to identify him despite several public appeals. Police investigation and leads. Detective Laura Simmons, the lead investigator, described the case as one of the most confounding in her career. She noted that Emily's disappearance was not consistent with voluntary disappearance, given a lack of planning or personal effects taken. The Sheriff's Department interviewed dozens of locals, hikers, and potential witnesses. They pursued multiple leads. Red Herring 1, the blue sedan. Repeated reports of the dark blue sedan near the trailhead triggered a citywide canvass. However, the vehicle was never found, and no credible sightings surfaced later. Police concluded that the report may have been mistaken, or that the car belonged to a transit. Red Herring 2, the suspicious camper. A man camping nearby was questioned after a witness reported hearing raised voices on the evening of the disappearance. The camper, who had an alibi supported by other campers, was released without charges. Family and community response. Nancy Hartman and Emily's younger brother, Michael, became vocal advocates in the search, organizing volunteer search parties and appealing to local media. Nancy described the ordeal as living every parent's worst nightmare. Friends said Emily's disappearance shattered the town's sense of safety. Local newspapers ran front-page stories daily, keeping the community's attention on the case. Coverage ranged from empathetic profiles to speculative rumors, some of which deeply frustrated the family. Media coverage and public theories. As days turned to weeks, theories circulated. Some believed Emily had encountered foul play related to her environmental activism, given a few controversial protests she had attended months earlier. Others speculated she had a personal crisis, or was meeting someone clandestinely, possibly the man in the torn photograph. A fringe theory proposed she might have fallen victim to an animal attack or accidental injury in the dense forest, although no evidence supported this. Sheriff Mark Reynolds cautioned the public. Until we have facts, speculation only hampers the investigation and causes unnecessary pain for the family. Emotional toll and lingering questions. Friends recalled Emily's growing anxiety in the weeks before her disappearance, but no one imagined it would end this way. One close friend, Lisa Monroe, said quietly, "Emily never ran away from problems. This just doesn't add up." The unanswered questions haunted the community. Why did Emily's path end so abruptly? Who was the man in the photo? What was she writing in her notebook in those last hours? The case filed today. Case JCSO 97-1014 remains open. Advances in forensic technology have yet to yield new evidence, so cold case detectives continue reviewing old leads, hoping to uncover the truth. Nearly 3 decades have passed since Emily Hartman vanished into the shadows of the Bear Creek Trail, yet the case remains stubbornly unresolved. Despite extensive investigation, countless hours of searching, and new forensic methods applied over the years, Emily's fate is still a mystery, a ghost haunting the forests and hearts of Ashland. With little physical evidence and no witnesses to the final moments of her disappearance, speculation has naturally taken root. What follows is a detailed examination of the most plausible theories surrounding Emily's vanishing, drawn from investigative findings, expert opinions, and community reflection. While rooted in facts, these theories diverge into very different paths, none offering certainty, all demanding contemplation. Theory 1, Abduction, the dark shadow in the woods. The most persistent and haunting theory is that Emily Hartman was a victim of abduction. The evidence pointing toward this possibility is circumstantial but compelling. The presence of the unidentified man. One of the earliest leads came from Mark Henderson, the jogger who spotted a man near the Bear Creek Trail on the afternoon of Emily's disappearance. The man's nervous behavior, the dark hoodie, and the timing have led investigators to consider that this individual might have confronted Emily or been involved in her disappearance. The mysterious torn photograph. The photo of Emily with an unknown man has long intrigued law enforcement. While his identity remains a secret, some investigators suspect he could be linked to the case. Was he a friend, a stranger, or something more sinister? Police explored whether he might have been a local transit, a known criminal, or someone Emily trusted who turned dangerous. The blue sedan sighting. Although the blue sedan sighting ultimately turned out to be a dead end, the report of an unknown vehicle near the trailhead suggests someone may have been waiting or lurking for a target. Stranger danger in a small town with limited foot traffic near the trail was possible. From a law enforcement perspective, abduction cases often involve complex motives, ranging from opportunistic crime to personal vendettas. The Bear Creek area, while peaceful, is adjacent to roads that provide quick escape routes, and the dense forest could easily conceal a perpetrator. However, the lack of physical struggle signs, no signs of forced resistance, and the absence of ransom or demands in the weeks following Emily's disappearance cast some doubt on this theory. Abductions frequently leave at least some forensic trace. Here, the silence was deafening. Theory 2, voluntary disappearance, an escape from pressure? Another line of thought argues that Emily chose to disappear. While this theory is painful, it cannot be entirely dismissed. Emily's recent behavior. Those close to Emily described subtle signs of withdrawal and anxiety in the weeks leading up to October 14th. The abrupt end to her journal entries and the sudden halting of her communications could indicate an internal crisis. No intent to return. Some speculate Emily might have decided to vanish voluntarily, seeking a fresh start away from the pressures she faced. Environmental studies can be demanding, and Emily had recently experienced tension related to activism, personal relationships, or academic stress. No significant personal effects taken. The fact that her backpack and personal belongings were left untouched at home is often seen as evidence against a planned disappearance. Yet, she could also have planned to survive with only the essentials she carried that day. No attempt to contact family or friends. Voluntary disappearances often include communication or hints toward future intentions, but Emily's silence was absolute. Experts in missing person cases highlight that voluntary disappearances tend to involve some degree of preparation or deliberate disconnection, neither of which is strongly supported here. Moreover, Emily's close-knit family ties and community standing argue against a sudden break from all she knew. Theory 3, accidental death in the wilderness. The natural dangers of the Ashland foothills and Bear Creek Trail are not to be underestimated. The challenging terrain. The trail where Emily was last seen is rugged and covered with loose rocks, roots, and steep inclines. An accident, such as a fall, sprained ankle, or disorientation, could have incapacitated her, leaving her unable to call for help. The isolated location. The forest, dense canopy, and quiet are deceptive. Cell phone signals 1997 were patchy at best, and any weather and terrain can hinder rescue efforts. Animal activity. While Ashland is not known for dangerous predators, the possibility of animal interference or scavengers disturbing evidence cannot be ruled out. The hiking boot left behind, found some distance from the trailhead. The single boot could indicate a sudden injury or an attempt to move barefoot after losing or removing footwear. Search and rescue professionals caution that wilderness accidents often result in minimal physical evidence, especially in remote areas with dense vegetation. Despite extensive searching, the fact that no body or clear evidence was found remains a mystery. but the forest may still conceal secrets. Theory 4. Something far more unusual, the supernatural or unexplained. Though rarely considered in official investigations, some locals have whispers of strange phenomena around the Bear Creek Trail, unexplained lights and sounds. Several hikers and residents have reported unusual lights and eerie sounds in the woods near where Emily disappeared. Account dismissed as natural or psychological by experts. Local folklore. The Ashland region has a rich history of indigenous stories and legends about spirits guarding the forest. While such tales are cultural rather than evidential, they contribute to mystery and fear surrounding the case. The disappearance without a trace. Cases like Emily's sometimes invite speculation about paranormal involvement, whether alien abduction or otherworldly forces. While these theories hold no scientific basis, they persist in the public imagination. Law enforcement and investigators remain focused on tangible evidence, but the lack of resolution leaves space for speculation in the court of public opinion. The red herrings and their toll. 2 significant red herrings have distracted and frustrated investigators. The blue sedan reported near the trailhead caused an early flurry of activity, which was a false lead, draining resources and sowing confusion. Some in the community consider the suspicious camper, who was questioned and quickly cleared, a prime suspect. This sparked rumors and accusations that caused distress for an innocent man. These dead ends illustrate how complex and fraught missing person investigations can become, especially when public fear and media attention intensify. The emotional landscape, the human cost of mystery. The Hartman family has endured decades of uncertainty, their grief compounded by unanswered questions. Nancy Hartman's public statements reveal a mother's heartbreak tempered by resilience. Every day without Emily is without peace. We keep searching because she deserves that much. Friends remember Emily as a vibrant soul, intelligent, kind, and deeply connected to nature. Her absence leaves a silence that echoes louder with time. The Ashland community remains vigilant, and the case has become a symbol of the unknown dangers that can exist even in the most peaceful places. An enduring mystery. As time passes, hope for new leads hinges on advancements in forensic science, renewed witness memories, or the discovery of previously overlooked evidence. Emily Hartman's mystery endures as a testament to fragility of life and the depth of the unknown. What do you think happened to Emily Hartman? Was it a tragic accident on the Bear Creek Trail, a planned escape from the pressures of life, a sinister abduction by a shadowy figure, or something far more mysterious and unexplainable? The case remains open, the questions unanswered, the truth hidden beneath the layers of time and silence. What do you think happened to Emily Hartman? Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more content relating to horrors and missing cases.